Welcome back for another video. Today we're going to be discussing double Gameweek 29 and the rest of the season, including a wildcard team and some considerations further down the line in blank Gameweek 32 and double Gameweek 34. It's the time for planning, so even if you've used your wildcard already, this one will be useful. Starting with a reminder of the schedule, which has changed over the international break with the announcement of double Gameweek 34. Double Gameweek 29 is up next, with 12 teams doubling, the biggest double of the season. There's been a lot of discussion on saving your bench boost for Gameweek 34 instead. In my eyes, this is a bad plan if your bench is already set up for this week. The reason being, you're leaving too much up to chance in later weeks, and this was the same reason I used my bench boost back in Gameweek 27, immediately after my wildcard. At the time, 1 month was a very long time between then and Gameweek 29, and a lot can change. In fact, many managers are already planning to take hits that are committed to the bench boost in 29, which is fine, but in comparison to Gameweek 27, the bench boost required no hits. There's no guaranteeing that Gameweek 34 will score better either. Between the doubles in 29 and 34, we've also got the small blank Gameweek 32. Although it's small, Brighton, Chelsea, Man City, Man United blank, which will affect all our teams. So this wildcard is set up to navigate the blank in 32 and then optionally free hit in Gameweek 34 if you still got the chip. The reason behind this is because if you're wildcarding now, you can set yourself up to save the chip. What would you rather, wildcard now and then need to free hit in Gameweek 32 to gain an extra 2 or 3 players, or free hit in Gameweek 34 to load up a team of 11 players that have a double game week and potentially gain an extra 7 or 8 fixtures? You clearly gain more by using it later. So let's get into the team, and if you're dead set on free hitting in 32, we'll still talk about 1 or 2 players that you could get instead as we run through the team. Please also remember to like the video and make sure you're subscribing. Before we look at the team, as we approach the crunch time part of the season, I strongly recommend becoming a Fantasy Football Scout member. You can join for only 1 month and benefit from the endless FPL tools available, such as player comparison, projected points and custom data tables. All the stats I mention in videos come from my tables and I've made them public for you to use. On top of that, becoming a member supports the channel as well, so to try it out, click the link at the top of the description. Big thanks to Scout for their support. So in goal it's Steele, who has impressed and has taken the #1 spot in goal for Brighton, 2 clean sheets in 3 games, and is averaging 5.6 points per game. We've talked all about the upcoming schedule, however there are still 3 postponements to be rearranged, 2 of which involve Brighton. They're the only team with 2 postponements, which mean on top of the double game week 29 and 34, a further 2 double game weeks are coming at some point for them, possibly even a triple game week. The back 3 is Shaw, Alexander-Arnold and Trippier. Shaw picked up a red card in England's match against Italy over the break, which meant he missed their second international game and they'll be well rested ahead of the double. You could make the case that they'll struggle without Casemiro while he's suspended, but it's a reasonable double game week and he's been a consistently good asset this season. He's on some set pieces and he has an attacking return in him. It's obviously a difficult double for Liverpool, but with a long-term view, Trent's a very good pick for the rest of the season, particularly Gameweek 32 when that blank game week comes. Liverpool home to Nottingham Forest that week. Liverpool also have the announced double Gameweek 34, which is a further 2 home games against Spurs and Fulham. Liverpool have improved recently as well. Gameweek 27 before the break was Trent's only blank in his last 6 games, returns of 2, 6, 7, 6, 12 and 6. If you're set on a free hit 32 or you simply don't want to own Trent, then Chilwell is the solution. Trippier is also a season keeper and Newcastle have 1 postponement to be rearranged still. They'll get a double game week with Brighton at some point and there's a small chance it will come as soon as Gameweek 31. Newcastle don't blank in 32 either, which is also handy if you're trying to save your free hit or if you've used it already. It's the midfield 5, which is Salah, Rashford, Fernandes, March and Mitoma. Salah's picked up some form recently as well, with returns of 21, 8, 6 and 11 among his last 6 games, only 2 blanks. On top of that, his appeal is the same as Trent, with a very good game with 32 and he doubles in 34. He's been on the score sheet over the international break for Egypt as well, and I wouldn't be too put off by the double game week fixtures. Salah's fixture proof, and historically Man City vs Liverpool has always been a high scoring game, as you can see on screen. There's only been 1 game in the last 4 years with just 1 goal scored. He's even a captaincy shout, but Rashford has the armband as it stands. He withdrew from international duty with a reported knock, so as it stands he's yellow flagged, something to keep an eye on. Though in all likelihood it's a quote unquote international break injury, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if he's spotted back in training this week and then Ten Hag confirms that he's available by Friday. It's a week to look elsewhere for captaincy if you're chasing, and Fernandes and Salah both excellent picks to consider, as are the Brighton mids to be honest. More by coincidence than anything, but Bruno's always done well in double game weeks historically. Perhaps partly because he's always a 90-minute man, and he's reliable when there's a congested schedule of weekend and midweek football games. We know he's on penalties as well, and with Man United doubling in both 29 and 34, the Man United triple up looks strong. That brings us to the Brighton mids, who have shared the points, and if you've got your favourites then back them. Little separates them honestly. March and Mitoma are my favourite too, but McAllister is on penalties and he's been playing further forward in recent matches. If we look at points scored this calendar year, Mitoma is 4th in the league and March is 7th, and they've played the joint fewest games as well, so we can clearly count on them, though McAllister would likely be up there as well if he had been playing in his current position since January. Haaland's drop off on this table is notable, but that's one for another day. The front two is Isak and Watkins, so no Haaland here, but bear with me on this one. An outstanding final game for Isak just before the break, man of the match performance with 2 goals for a 13-pointer, took the penalty as well, so while he's on the pitch he should be on pen duties. 3 goals and 2 starts now, and he's looking like the player they hoped they signed. He could still share the minutes with Wilson realistically, and if he does become an issue then there's lots of strikers that he could be sold for down the line. Watkins completes the 11, and he too doesn't blank in Gameweek 32, and he's now the 4th top scoring forward after Haaland, Kane and Tony. Just 1 blank in his last 8 matches, and he tends to get the 90 minutes more often than not, which is what you want from an FPL attacking asset. His away form has been really impressive as well, so a double game week of 2-way fixtures isn't a concern. A potential season keeper, or sell him around Gameweek 34 or 35 when the final few games get tougher. On the bench it's Leno, Haaland, Mings and White. Regarding Leno, I came across an interesting graphic, Opta analysis of each team's fixture difficulty for the rest of the season, and Fulham are second best after Palace. If you don't like the Leno pick then there are other options, just make sure they have a game in Gameweek 32 if you don't plan to free hit that week, as still will blank them. If you wanted to go super cheap, Iversen for Leicester should be getting a run of starts now, and he's only 4 mil. Ramsdale's also a more expensive option. We have got Ben White in the team though, as Tomiyasu's out for the rest of the season, so White's completely nailed now. And we may see some bank clean sheets when he comes off earlier in some games. So Haaland's first on the bench, which is a big shout. It ultimately comes down to whether you think he can outscore any of the midfielders or forwards in this team with his 1 game versus their 2 games. He is currently flagged and he withdrew from international duty as well. It sounds like this one might be a real injury though, based on his dad's comments to the media over the break, and it was important Euro qualifiers that he's missing. Mings also makes the bench as he plays in Gameweek 32 against Brentford, and a handy asset to have for only 4.3 mil. Emery's done an outstanding job since coming in. They've shot up the table and they could be on course for a top half finish. So that wraps up the Wildcard team in the video. If it was useful, please drop a like before you go and subscribe to the channel. I read every comment, so drop one below. See you soon for the next one.